All right. Welcome to Chapter 3 Practice Test Part 2. So for this Part 2, it is going to be the same exact setup as Part 1. So right now, you do need to have your math composition notebook open. You do need to write a header that says Chapter 3 Practice Test Part 2 and also write your name. And then again, as we go through, you are going to answer the question on your own. It's going to stop. You're going to pick the answer out of the multiple choices. And then once you pick your answer, it'll tell you whether you're right or wrong. And then it'll be me going over how to actually do the problem. While I am going over how to actually do the problem to get the correct answer, you should have a second colored pen in front of you that is used to edit your work. Okay. And what that means is you should be fixing your work so that it looks like mine if you made a mistake. After each question, it's just like part 1, you're then going to reflect on where you went wrong, okay? Or maybe you got it right, and you're going to reflect on something that maybe you didn't include that you could include next time to make your work more clear. So I really want you to think hard and be thoughtful about your reflections after every question, because this is an important part of your learning to help you learn and grow from your mistakes. So let's begin. So number 12 says solve 1/8 n equals -7. So right now you're going to work on it on your own and then choose the correct answer once you're done. Okay, so you should have chosen an answer. So let's go over how to do this. First thing we want to do is draw a line through the equal sign. Then I want to decide. Well, first, I always want to pay attention to the side with the variable on it. And then I know that a number is attached to a variable by the operation that is multiplication. Okay, so the 1/8 and the n are attached by multiplication. So the inverse operation is going to be division. So I'm going to divide both sides by 1/8. All right, that's going to cancel these out, and I'm just going to be left with n on the left side. Then over here, I'm going to do my math, which is -7 divided by 1/8. Now, let's remember that the rule for dividing fractions is keep, change, flip. All right, so I'm going to make -7 a fraction by putting it over 1. And then I'm going to change the division sign to multiplication. And then I'm going to flip this second fraction. So it's going to be 8 over 1. Then we want to check, can we cross cancel? Well, no, because we have ones in the diagonals. That's not going to work. So now we just need to do our multiplying fractions rule, which is the butterfly, which is multiply numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. That's going to give me -56 over 1, which is the same thing as just -56. So n equals -56. I box in my answer. Then, of course, I go down here. And if you forgot your check, make sure you're writing it now, please. But you want to write the original equation. Then you want to plug in what n equals. So we have 1/8 times -56 equals -7. Remember that if you have a whole number and a fraction, you essentially multiply that whole number with the numerator. So it's going to be -56 over 8 equals -7. And I know -56 divided by 8 is -7, which is what I needed. So I can do a check mark. I know my answer is correct. All right, so now I want you to reflect on what mistake did you make? Where did you go wrong? Okay, and maybe you did get it right, but did you show your work in this complete manner that I just showed? Okay, so that is what you are going to reflect on. All right, let's go down to number 13. Number 13 says solve d plus 6 over -2 equals 5. So on your own, go ahead and complete that problem. Okay, so how we are going to do this is first, you're probably like, wow, there's a lot up top here, okay? It's d plus 6. What I want you to do, I'm going to rewrite this so it's easier. But what I want you to think about this is think of this as just one number, okay? So think of that as one piece. Since our variable is on the top, we need to get rid of this denominator, okay? And in order to get rid of this denominator, it's division, I'm going to need to multiply. So again, I'm going to multiply both sides by -2. As you can see here, they cross cancel. So then we're just left with d plus 6, which makes it look a little bit easier in what we want, okay? 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Now we have d plus 6. Well, I know that if I want to isolate the d, I am going to, it says plus 6. So the inverse operation is subtraction. So if I'm at 6 and I want to get to 0, I'm going to have to subtract 6 from both sides. And that is going to give me, these are going to cancel. I'm going to be left with d equals negative 16. So that is the answer for number 13. But of course, I do want to check my work. So I'm going to write my check over here. I'm going to write d plus 6 over negative 2 equals 5. I'm going to plug in what that d equals. So negative 16 plus 6 over negative 2 equals 5. So again, I know this is a lot, so I'm going to highlight the d so that you guys know how we're filling things in. And then let's just simplify negative 16 plus 6. That's going to be negative 10 over negative 2. And then to end, we ultimately just do negative 10 divided by negative 2, which I know equals a positive 5. If we look over to the right side, that is exactly what we wanted. So I know my answer is correct. All right. So now let's go to 14. You are going to solve v minus 4v plus 10v equals 14. Here's a hint before you start. Remember that you need to combine your like terms. Combine your like terms before we start. All right, go work on that on your own. Okay, so you should have answered that question. So my hint was that you need to identify like terms. So I see that this is a v, I see that this is a v, and I see that this is a v, okay? Which means I can combine all of those, okay? And I want to do that before I start. So let's just do it one piece at a time so we don't get mixed up. Well, if there's no number in front of the variable, we can assume it's a 1, okay? So this is 1v minus 4v. Well, I know 1 minus 4 will give me negative 3, and then that v is attached. And then let's write the rest, which is plus 10v equals 14. From there, negative 3v plus 10v. I can combine these because they are also like terms. Negative 3 plus 10 will give me a positive 7v equals 14. And now this is just a 3.4 problem of the 7 and the v are attached by multiplication. So in order to cancel that out, we need to do the inverse operation, which is division. So we're going to divide both sides by 7. These are going to cancel, and we're going to be left with v equals 14 divided by 7, which is 2. All right, now I need to check my work. So over here, I'm going to write check. And I'm going to do v minus 4v plus 10. v equals 14. Okay, now what we're going to do here, wherever there's a v, I'm going to substitute and plug in what that v actually equals, which is a positive 2. So I'm going to do 2 minus 4 times 2 plus 10 times 2 equals 14. Now simplify it out. 2 minus 4 times 2 is 8 plus 10 times 2 is 20 equals 14. 2 minus 8 equals negative 6 plus 20 equals 14. Negative 6 plus 20 equals a positive 14, which, would you look at that? That's what I wanted on my right side. So I know my answer is correct. All right, so that is number 14. Okay, let's go on to number 15. So write and simplify an expression that represents the perimeter of the parallelogram. So remember, perimeter is essentially all the total distance of all of the sides, okay? So you're given two sides. You need to write an expression that represents the perimeter, which is the full thing of that parallelogram, okay? So don't forget to simplify and combine your like terms. Ready, set, go. Okay, so we are going to write an expression that represents the perimeter. So what I'm going to do, so I'm given this side. I know that this side is also going to be that same thing because it's a parallelogram, which means that those two sides are parallel. Same goes with this 4x minus 5. I know that this is going to be 4x minus 5. So I could write all of those out. 3x plus 9 plus 3x plus 9 plus 4x minus 5 plus 4x minus 5. or I could simplify it, okay? And I know that I have 2 of the 3x plus 9s, right? I have 2 of those. And then I have 2 of the 4x minus 5s, right? So you see here, we are simplifying it using multiplication. So from here, this is our expression. But this is not simplified because there's still like terms and there's still parentheses. So we got to simplify this. So to do that, we need to distribute. All right. So we're going to have 2 times 3x plus 2 times 9. And then we need to distribute this 2 plus 2 times 4x. It's a minus sign. Minus 2 times 5. Okay, let's simplify it out. 2 times 3x will give me 6x, plus 2 times 9 is 18, plus 2 times 4x is 8x, minus 2 times 5, which is, oops, that's going to be a minus 10. Be careful of your signs. Okay, now we need to identify like terms. Well, I have an x right here, and I also have x's here. And then I have my constants, which are 18 and negative 10. Okay. From there, I can only combine my like terms. So I'm just going to do the vertical method. So 6x plus 18. And then below it, I'm going to make sure to stack up my like terms vertically. Plus 8x minus 10. All right. And then just combine them. So 6x plus 8x will give me 14x. And then a positive 18 minus 10 will just give me a positive 8. So the perimeter simplified will be 14x plus 8. And that is the answer to number 15. All right. Now let's look at number 16. It says 72 is equal to 80% of a number n. Write and solve an equation to find n. Write the percent as a decimal. Okay. So just a really quick hint, we are going to write this, just a reminder, 80% as a decimal is 0.8. Okay, that is 80% as a decimal, just so you know. Okay, so go work on it on your own and choose your answer. All right, so you should have chosen an answer. So first we need to write the equation. Okay, so we need to write the equation. And it gives us that it's going to be 72 equals, and then that. And it says 72 is equal to 80% of a number n. So if I want 80% of a number, which is that variable, I'm going to write it as 0.8n. Because if I multiply that number with the 0.8, that's going to give me 80% of it. And we'll get into that more in, I believe, chapter 5 or 6. Okay, so now we have our equation. This is our equation. So that's the answer to the first part. Okay. Now let's solve it. So again, we want to isolate the n. So we're going to divide both sides by 0.8. Divide both sides by 0.8. And we get n equals 72 divided by 0.8 is 90. All right, it's 90. Then if you'd like to check your answer, which you always should, you should write the original equation, which is 72 equals 0.8n. Plug in what the n equals, which is 90. And then you should get that equals 72. All right, and you check your work and you are correct. All right, that is number 16. Let's scroll down to 17. So it says, to adopt a dog from an animal shelter, you must pay $80 for vaccinations, $65 to spay or neuter the dog, and $50 for a wellness exam by a veterinarian. Write an expression in simplest form that represents the amount in dollars it costs to adopt X dogs. So what you want to do is you want to write an expression, and then what you're going to do is you are also going to pick what does the coefficient of the expression in part A mean. And I'm going to number these, so you're going to choose which number you think it is, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay? So go ahead, you're going to write the expression, and then you're going to answer both part A and part B. So ready, set, go. All right, so to write this, it is saying that X represents the amount of dogs that you have, okay? So when we write this, I'm going to write, well, first you have to pay $80 per dog for the vaccinations, okay? Plus you have to pay $65 to spay or neuter the dog, okay? So the X is how many dogs you have, we don't know. And then plus $50 for a wellness exam. So 80x plus 65x plus 50x is going to be how much it cost to get a dog at the start. So again, we want to combine our like terms, which these are all like terms because they have the same variable raised to the same power. If we add all of those together, we're going to get 195x. Okay, and that is our expression in dollars. So it costs essentially what this is saying, it costs $195 to get a dog. If you get one dog, it's 195. If you get two dogs, you would multiply this by 2. Okay, so that's our expression. So now let's look over here. And what does the coefficient of the expression in part A represent? Well, the coefficient right here, remember, I just kind of talked about it, but this is the total cost in dollars of adopting one dog, okay? So that's the total cost in dollars of adopting one dog. So this is the correct answer, number 1. All right, let's scroll down to 18. So you and your friend are selling magazine subscriptions for a fundraiser. After W weeks, you have sold 3W plus 4 subscriptions, and your friend has sold 5W plus 1 subscriptions. Write an expression in simplest form that represents the difference between the number of subscriptions your friend has sold and the number of subscriptions you have sold. Hint, pay careful attention to this language. The difference between the number of subscriptions your friend has sold and the number you have sold. Notice which one comes first, your friend or you. So notice that because that's going to matter how you set up your subtraction problem since difference means subtraction. Okay, so you're going to set up an expression and then you are going to evaluate it for when W equals 5. So for 5 weeks, okay? So go ahead, do that on your own. Okay, so I'm going to set this up. And again, I told you to be careful of the language. So your friend is going to go first. So your friends is this, 5W plus 1. So I'm going to write 5W plus 1. Again, I'm going to stack my like terms. It's minus, right? Minus 3W. Then you want to be careful. So we are subtracting this full thing because we're trying to find the difference. So you got to make sure, even though this is a positive sign, you are subtracting the 4. So I am just going to write minus 4 here so that you remember that you are subtracting both of these pieces, okay? Because we want to know the difference. And difference is subtraction. So we have to subtract both of those terms, not just the 3W. Okay, so let's do this. 5W minus 3W will be 2W. Positive 1 minus 4 will be negative 3. Okay, so that's our expression. So that's the first part. Then it says after 5 weeks, your friend has sold how many more subscriptions as you. So what we're going to do, remember, W equals weeks. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in 5 for the W. So we're going to go 2, plug in that 5 for the W, minus 3. That's going to give me 2 times 5 is 10 minus 3. That's going to give me 7 more subscriptions. So that's the answer. 7 more, subscriptions. All right, and that is the second piece of that problem. All right, let's go down to number 19. Number 19 says, a manufacturing company produces 8 units this week and wants to increase its weekly output by 125 units by next week. The company hopes to make 1,350 units next week. Which equation can be used to find X? So go ahead, I want you to look at all these options and pick which one you think is correct. And I'm going to number them. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Pick the number you think it is. Ready, set, go. Okay, so for this one, what this is going to be is, well, it says a manufacturing company produces X units this week and wants to increase its weekly output by 125. Increase, okay? So X units this week. It wants to increase its weekly output by 125. Increase is addition, okay? The company hopes to make 1,350 units next week. So essentially, this equation is This is how much they made this week. It needs to increase by 125 in order to be 1350 for next week. So the correct answer would be number 4, x plus 125 equals 1,350. All right, that's number 19. Let's scroll down to 20. This is the last one. And it says, your brother is 1/3 your age. Your sister is 6 years older than your brother. Your sister is 10 years old. Write and solve an equation to find your age, A. Okay, so write the equation, and then I want you to find the age. Ready, set, go. Okay, you should have picked an answer. So your brother is 1/3 your age. It says that my age is represented by the variable A. So if my brother is 1/3 my age, I'm going to write that as 1/3 A. Okay, he is 1/3 of my age. Your sister is 6 years older than your brother. So this 1/3 A right here, this represents my brother's age. So since my sister is 6 years older, I'm going to write plus 6, okay? Because he's 6 years older than my brother. Then it says my sister's age is 10 years old. So my sister's age equals 1/3 of my age plus 6. Okay, so that's going to be my equation, which is right here. Then we need to solve for A. So again, deal with the detached things first. So we are going to subtract 6 on both sides. We're going to be left with 1/3 A equals 10 minus 6, which is 4, divided by 1/3, divided by 1/3. These cancel. We're left with A equals, over here, let's do 4 divided by 1/3. Remember, keep, change, flip. 4 over 1 times 3 over 1. Multiplying fractions, we multiply numerator and numerator, denominator and denominator. It's going to be 12 over 1, which is the same as 12. So my age is 12. So I am 12 years old, and my equation is 1/3 A plus 6 equals 10. All right, so that is the answer for number 20. All right, and that is part 2 of the practice test. So as long as you've completed part 1 and part 2, you should be good to go. At this time, you need to take all that nice, pretty work that you did in your composition notebook. You need to take a picture of it and submit it onto the Google Classroom assignment that says Edpuzzle Chapter 3 Practice Test Part 2. All right, you're going to upload your work, and then you'll get a grade for that. Watch these as much as you need this weekend to prepare for the test. The test will be Monday, so be ready. All right, thanks for watching. Nice job.